Some of America's leading thinkers have come here to Jerusalem for the conference on anti-Semitism. One of them is Dinesh D'Souza, author, filmmaker, and I'd say public intellectual. Great to see you. Thanks for taking some time.
Ezra, great to see you again, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, why would you come here? You're not Jewish yourself. You historically have talked about other issues, for example, the Democrats and the history of the Democrats and slavery, even MAGA. Why are you interested in anti-Semitism?
I made a movie about, not anti-Semitism, but about Israel, Hamas, radical Islam, and the Bible. The film was a bit of a departure for me in that my earlier films have all been in one way or another about the meaning of America. This one connects the issue of biblical archaeology. Ultimately, the argument is over whose land is it. That's where the archaeology comes in. Politics, but also a hint of biblical prophecy. So it turns out it's a topic that's been on my mind. The other issue that's developed is the schism on the right over Israel. And to me, it's very dismaying because with the emergence of the Red-Green Alliance, you have two groups, the left and the radical Muslims. They don't have that much in common, but they're united by a common hatred toward Jews and Christians, toward America, toward the West, toward Israel. And so it seems quite obvious that Jews and Christians should come closer together. America and Israel should draw closer together to repel this threat, and yet you've got prominent figures on our side of the aisle, on the right, who are driving a wedge, both theological and political. And this is, in a sense, territory that interests me a lot. Arguments about replacement theology, for example, arguments about whether Israel is a friend or an enemy to the United States. And so I decided pretty early on to try to be outspoken in the debate and take a strong position against the sort of Tucker Candaces of the world.
And that's tough to do in some ways because they're so large, they have very large audiences, and there's been a sort of harmony on the right for a while. And this feels like, if not on the grassroots, it feels like at least online, it's a kind of civil war, which are the worst wars. Fighting against someone who was your friend 10 minutes ago is very difficult emotionally. It's almost like a divorce, isn't it?
Well, initially it seemed to me that the debate was over Israel and Jewish influence in American politics. Once Tucker began to migrate further out, defend, Maduro in Venezuela, talk about the benefits of Sharia law, make some sympathetic comments toward Hamas. One time he talked about apologizing to bin Laden. It's pretty clear that this guy has gone off the reservation. And so I actually feel much more comfortable in opposing this whole movement ideologically, and doing so in the sense that I think the effect of it is very harmful and destructive to the MAGA movement, to Trump, certainly to the Republican Party as we've known it since the Reagan days. And the other thing about it that's to me very strange is that Tucker, for example, has now developed a curious new interest in theology. Not a topic that interests him at all, but it appears to be motivated by a desire to drive a wedge between Israel and the evangelical community.
He says he hates Christian Zionists more than anyone in the world. He said that.
Right, and he also says things like, well, this is the oldest heresy in Christianity. Well, I mean, Christian history is a topic of interest to me. I mean, I know about the various heresies, the Manichaeans and so on. Christian Zionism is not on the list. So when you have this kind of strange doctrinaire pronouncements by a guy who's manifestly ill-informed on the topic, something insidious is afoot. And for this reason, I think it's not a time to ignore it.
Right. And we don't know if he's being, we know he's making a lot of money from his subscriptions. And there was at least one registration with the Foreign Agent Registration Act that Qatar paid $200,000 to get their prime minister on a show. I don't think we have any evidence, at least, and he seems to deny it, that he's being paid to say these things. I was talking earlier to Dr. James Lindsay, who suggests some of these ideas were always with him, but I think some of them are very new, and it's so opposite to what he used to say. It feels like it's bought and paid for. I know that I'm impugning his motives, but I can't think of any other motive. How can you do a 180 on radical Islam, Sharia law, on Islamic dictatorships? Like, he's been radicalized either ideologically or financially, but something's happened there.
The financial motive doesn't make sense to me.
Not to me. I mean, he's a rich guy.
Yeah, exactly. And he has a big enough following, he doesn't need it.
Right.
And also, he has gone so, he has veered so far off. No one in the mainstream of the Republican Party can endorse this. Even the Groypers will not defend the particularity of Tucker's positions. They'll say things like, Tucker has a right to say it. But that's a whole different thing from saying that Tucker's right on Sharia. So, to me, Tucker is taking far too much risk with his own future and his own career to be worth some kind of payoff from Qatar. I don't really think.
I think you're right.
Motive.
Yeah, but it's just so radical. I mean, it's almost like he's platforming each of America's international enemies now too.
That's it.
Yeah, the fact that he was willing to go to the extent of Churchill is the bad guy in World War II. Now, Tucker, interestingly, he's very selective in his guests. His guests, he practices what I would call ventriloquist journalism. He doesn't have people on who challenge him. He has people on who say what he wants them to say and what he knows they're going to say, but he pretends like he doesn't know. And so he feigns astonishment, like, wow, this is a mind-blowing insight, and
he coaches the viewer how to respond. Wow, that's amazing. I haven't heard that. That's been covered up before.
Right.
We're the only people who are brave enough to say it.
Right. It's a kind of a shtick, and it travels, it makes headway with people because it is camouflaged as a certain type of open-mindedness. And so I run into mainstream Republicans all the time, and their view is, what happened to Tucker? You know, part of it is that they were fans of the old Tucker.
Me too.
Yeah. And they can't grasp the fact that he has metamorphosed into a completely different creature. And my view is, look, you can be on board with the old Tucker and get off the bus when it comes to the new Tucker.
Now, I don't want to get too political. I really admire Donald Trump, and that's tough to say as a Canadian because he's always sparring with us. But he has hosted Tucker in the White House as recently as a couple weeks ago. Now, perhaps Trump is not extremely online. I mean, he tweets, but I don't think he spends his day scrolling on the phone. Trump is busy trying to fix America and save the world. But Tucker still obviously has access to the highest heights, and there are some who say he's close with the vice president. His son works for the vice president. Are you worried about any of that? I mean, I know that you are a very strong Republican, strong MAGA. What do you make of the fact that Tucker's still very welcome in the heart of power?
Yes.
I am concerned about Tucker's aspirations with J.D. Vance. I think Tucker's view is that I'm not going to get Trump.
That's where we're going.
If I can get Heritage, and if I can get Turning Point USA, and if I can put Vance in my back pocket, I will have tremendous leverage on the Republican Party post-Trump. That is a real issue.
Right.
Now with Trump,
Why isn't?
the strange thing about him is that his instincts are conservative, but he is not ideological. Trump is transactional. And Trump thinks of himself as the CEO of the United States of America, LLC. And for Trump, when he encounters some kind of an ideological debate, he always backs away from it. And he tends to reinterpret it in the form of personal loyalty, what can you do for me versus what I can do for you. And I think if you wanted to poison Trump's affection for Tucker, you don't go to Trump and say, Tucker's wrong on Maduro. What you say to Trump is, Tucker has been bad-mouthing the guy that you endorsed in Florida. That will infuriate Trump. And I think ultimately Trump will break away from Tucker based on the fact that Tucker is becoming increasingly hostile to core institutions in the Republican Party. But Trump sees that, this is going to affect evangelical Christians. This is going to affect groups that he cares about and he needs.
And even the Jews have moved in some direction towards Trump, especially in the last 2 years. To break the Jews off from the Republican Party, I don't think that's a net positive demographically or voter, and certainly not financially.
No, and I think this is actually where the online world and the rank and file mainstream of the Republican Party are two different animals. You'll sometimes see people, Cernovich and others, they'll be like, Trump is alienating his base. And I'm like, no, Trump's base is not the guys who are active on X. Trump's base is like the Federation of Republican Women. These are old ladies in hats who go door to door at election time. And that's the rank and file Republican. That base is undisturbed by Tucker and Candace. They still have a certain measure of affection for those two, but they would not be on board with the itemized list of where they stand today.
Well, I tell you, I really appreciate your insight here. I don't want to monopolize you. I know you're very popular with the crowd here. Tell our viewers in closing what your new projects are or the best way to follow you if they want to hear more from you.
Follow me on X at Dinesh D'Souza. My latest film is called The Dragon's Prophecy. It's about Israel, Hamas, radical Islam, and the Bible.
Where can they get that film?
It's now on Amazon. It's on iTunes, Apple.
Oh, great.
And the website is thedragonsprophecyfilm.com. So you can stream it, you can buy DVDs, and it's a very timely film, and it's a little different than the other films I've made before.
I haven't seen it yet, but you got me really interested, especially if there's that biblical layer there.
Absolutely. The film is a bit of a foray into also biblical archaeology, which bears on the question of, whose ancestral homeland is this? It's not the only way you establish the title deeds to a country. But my argument is that generally, if you look at the map of the world, you can get title deeds to a country in one of three ways. One, you were there first. You're the original inhabitants. Two, you got it by some treaty or negotiation. Three, you got it by conquest. I can't think of a map that's been drawn not based on one of these three. And the beauty with Israel is it checks all three boxes. The Jews were here first. They got it from the UN after World War II. And they fought a bunch of wars, 48, 67, 73, to hold the land. So I think that the claim of the Jews to Israel is perhaps it's certainly stronger than the claim of the white man to be in America. Because, of course, the American Indians were there first. So arguably, the American Indians have it by ancestry. Now, the white man has it by conquest. So it's a disputed claim. But in the case of Israel, there's no dispute.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to watching that film. Thanks very much for all your time today.
Pleasure. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Ezra Levant here, along with Avi Yamini. I'm in Jerusalem for an international conference of leaders against anti-Semitism. To follow all of our journalism, go to rebelnews.com.